Hey now.
Hey now! Hi, friends. Welcome to a special episode of Scott Fox After 9. In this one, we're going to talk about something that I don't think gets talked about enough. We're going to talk about cannabis. Cannabis is something that is a perfectly legal product here in Canada, but it's something that we don't talk about that often, and frankly, I'm not sure why. So let's see if we can get to the bottom of that and maybe learn something. If you're an experienced cannabis user, I think you're going to get something good out of this episode. If you're brand new to cannabis, I don't want you to feel discouraged or feel like you aren't going to understand the conversation, because there's a lot of people in the exact same boat, and you're part of the reason we're doing this episode. So welcome to it, and I'm going to bring in my special guest for this episode. His name is Brent, and he is a project manager in the cannabis industry. Hey, Brent, how you doing?
Good, Scott. How are you?
I'm good. First off, you're a listener to the pod, so thank you very much.
Yeah. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you could come in. When you say project manager in cannabis, what does that entail? What are your credentials in the cannabis industry?
Yeah, so my responsibilities, I work with our team. They come up with the idea or concept of the product that they would like to introduce to market, and I work with the team to take that idea into fruition. So I'm working with the science team, the marketing team, the sales ops team, and
when you say that, I mean, it never even occurred to me. Yeah, I guess you would have like a science department, and you're very much kind of an agriculture business as well. Let's go back to the beginning. Who works for a pot company? If somebody is growing marijuana that's going to be legally allowed on the market, I assume you need quite the workforce there.
yeah, it's actually quite amazing. Some of the people, don't even consume cannabis, but they are, they have a science background or a biology background. They're working with the plants on how to produce higher yields, things of that nature, but they don't even consume the product themselves, but they're very passionate about, the plant structure. And
you mean to tell me there's people that work for cannabis companies and probably have access to cannabis regularly that don't even use it?
Yeah. It's amazing actually how many people don't consume in the industry, but they're so knowledgeable about the background and the biology of the plant itself. And they bring that expertise to create some amazing products.
Okay. I guess we should probably start by saying that you are not here on behalf of a specific cannabis company. This is more of an educational episode.
Yeah, correct. I'm not here representing my company. I'm just here to provide some insight, not medical advice or anything of that nature, just things that I've learned along the way and that maybe listeners might find beneficial.
It's funny you should say that, because I feel like I've had people in the industry say that to me. But on the retail end, every time I go into a pot shop, or maybe when I first started going in and I wasn't 100% sure what I was looking for, I would ask like, hey, what should I get? And the first thing they always said is, well, we can't give you medical advice. And I thought, well, I'm not asking for medical advice. I want to get high. But it's amazing how many people are still very cautious about offering any real guidance in the industry, because God forbid they give out something that could be construed as medical advice.
Yeah, exactly. And especially different products affect people in different ways. We can get into that as well. Just people have different experiences based on different products, different consumption methods and applications. So, and there's no guarantee like this will solve this problem. It's just this could help assist this problem.
Do you have any idea how many Canadians are actually using cannabis? Have you seen numbers like that? Is it a compelling number, or is this a small minority of the population?
I don't have the exact figures, but it is continually growing in terms of the amount of consumers in market. Every year we're seeing increased sales across the industry. There's also interesting segments, like for example, the senior segment has drastically grown. Mostly when it comes to topicals or CBD oil, things of that nature, but we're seeing, huge increases in that age demographic.
I'm really glad you said that, because I'm thinking about my dad, for example, and even my mom. And these are people that grew up with the whole, this is your brain on drugs.
Yeah.
Marijuana is a gateway drug to harder drugs. And now that it's legal, and they've seen it in operation for a few years, and they've driven by a few cannabis stores here and there, they're starting to get a little more interested. I'm not surprised to hear that the senior segment is growing, but, when I think about my parents, they have no idea where to start. Like, if they actually did work up the courage to go into a cannabis store, they would go in and say, I want cannabis. Like, that's a really broad place to start when you walk into a pot store, but everybody has their first time. So when it comes to seniors or anybody who's never been in there, how do you do it? When you walk into the store, I'd like marijuana, please. Okay, well, it comes in a lot of different forms.
Yeah, no, for sure. The one interesting thing when it comes to the seniors specifically is a lot of it happens at like an old age home, for example, where one person tries a topical for, perhaps they've got arthritis and they're finding some relief with that. Word spreads quickly. They're like, oh, what is it? Where did you get it? Can I try it?
They do. They gossip, those old people.
Oh, big time. And so they, in that sense, they're informed. They'll go to the store specifically saying, I would like this specific product. But otherwise, then they start getting experimental, maybe trying other brands, maybe trying different applications, something like a CBD soft gel or something like that, where they, they have a bit of an understanding of what the product is, and then they get curious from there. So
I guess it would probably be a good logical place to start with talking about the different products that are available, and then we can talk about maybe what they do, or even a simple thing like how to read the label. For example, I brought something in today, and I'm looking at the label now, and it says on it the name of the product, hybrid, 5X 0.5G, total THC 313.2 mg/g. And I don't know what a lot of this means. It also says total CBD, almost zero. And CBD is another one that I think people recognize that there could, in theory, maybe be some health benefits to it, but not all of the stuff that you buy at a cannabis store even has CBD. So let's talk about the different things that are available. First off, dried flower, I assume, is the most popular. This is after you guys have grown the plant. You dry it out, and then you put it in a little tube, and you sell it at the store.
Yeah. Dried flower is by far the largest segment in the market. It holds it holds the share of sales across all categories. A couple of different things to look for. You have your indica, your sativa. So the indica, for those who are somewhat newer.
What's the difference between an indica and a sativa? Because that would probably be step one, is figure out what you want.
Yeah.
So am I right in saying that indica is more of the chill and sativa is more of the energetic buzz? Is that right, or is that too broad?
Yeah, essentially that's it. Indica, think in the couch. In the couch. That's kind of, one of the industry kind of slangs for that one. So that's going to be your more, not necessarily like a couch lock feeling, but more of a relaxed, sedated effect, whereas sativa is a bit more of a, like, I want to clean the house. You're going to have that little bit of energy. And then a hybrid is something that's kind of right in the middle. It's generally like a 60-40 mix between a sativa and indica. You're going to kind of be nice and chill, but not like too drowsy. If
something is a hybrid, meaning it's part indica and part sativa, does that mean you bred the seed and grew a plant that's partially sativa and partially indica? Or did you take dried flower from an indica and dried flower from a sativa and just mix it in the tube?
So it's actually growing that way. So it's...
You've engineered a seed.
Essentially, yeah. Most plants are actually a hybrid. They just lean one way or the other. You're not going to get something that's like, 100% indica. But it's all through the growing process, and they do cross genetics, and that's where the biochemists come in. They're working on, developing these seeds and these strains to have specific terpenes.
What are terpenes?
Okay, so terpenes are essentially in everything. So it's, all fruits have them. It's the flavor and taste profile that at the molecular level within the plant.
And if I see something that is lemon infused or a strawberry infused, is that related to the terpenes, or is that because they infuse some strawberry or lemon flavor into it?
So an infused pre-roll, for example, would have, using strawberry as the example, would have a strawberry distillate. So they'd infuse natural botanical terpenes into the distillate to give it that strawberry flavor. But naturally in the plant itself, like pine is a better example for dried flower, or lemon, for example, you get those little hints. That's the actual plant structure that has those terpenes in it that are shining when you are, consuming the product.
Okay, so that's where it gets its flavor from. Yeah. Is infused something bad that you should stay away from? Is there something unnatural in it, or is it really just meant to enhance when you're inhaling it?
It's an enhancement to the product itself. So it's essentially just your standard pre-roll, but they've infused something like distillate, which is a concentrate. They take the plant and basically distill it down to create a more potent product, and then they will add some flavoring agents to that, infuse it with the dried flower itself into a pre-roll form, or in vapes, same concept.
Okay, so you've got the dried flower there, and now I understand the difference between a sativa and an indica. That's good to know. Again, the indica is the indicouch. That's the chill out, the body buzz. The sativa might be more of an energy boost for some people. Is that consistent? Because when I do What Is Scott Smoking, I can say, I loved this one. It had a great flavor, and I got a good, energetic buzz out of it. And then someone will message me and say, hey, I tried it, and I laid on the couch and ate chips for like an entire weekend. Yeah. Is it possible that different ones affect people different ways in that sense?
100%.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not guaranteed to provide the exact same experience to the next person.
See, and that's different from alcohol, because everybody who drinks alcohol is likely going to end up drunk. Yeah. But with cannabis, it's different.
Yeah, and it also depends like how you consume, how much you consume, but the body metabolizes things in a different way.
That's true too. Okay, so the experience that I have may not be the same that somebody else would have, and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. And that also ties in with the terpenes as well. The terpenes do drastically impact the overall experience. So it's not necessarily just, how potent the THC is, it's the terpenes within and how your body reacts with those terpenes.
So when I go into a cannabis store, I can buy dried flower, I can buy pre-rolled joints, and there's a difference, I'm led to believe, between a joint and a blunt, or is that just a brand name thing?
The blunt is more the wrapping that comes around it. So it's more of like a cigar style paper that would come on a blunt.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, all right. So that's a good tangible thing that we can take away from this pod. You've got your pre-rolls, you've got your dried flower, and then it gets into a whole bunch of other things that I'm not sure about. One of the things that I hear from a lot of people on is edibles. People who don't like to smoke or inhale something, they still want the THC content, and they just don't want to, like I said, inhale or grind or get their fingers all smelly. So they eat a nice sour key or whatever kind of edible they got, a little piece of chocolate. How do you get the weed into the chocolate? And how do you get the weed into the candy?
So it's the same process as, extracting the THC from the plant itself. Through an extraction method, you would take the benefits that you're looking for, specifically the THC, the CBD. You would then take that and infuse it with chocolate. It's as simple as you melt the chocolate down, you put some of the like the distillate, for example, into the product itself. The product covers any cannabis taste. Especially the distillation process, you lose a lot of that overwhelming cannabis taste, and then it gets masked by chocolate.
Glad you said that, because that's one of the appealing things I think about edibles is you don't smell like weed after that. You don't have that skunky smell.
Yeah, and you can really control the onset as well. So a lot of edibles come in like 2.5 milligrams per gram, 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams. So if you're new to cannabis, stick with a lower dosage. And they always say go slow, start low. If you're just dipping your toe in the water, maybe like a 2.5 milligram gummy is a good starting point. Wait an hour, hour and a half. Hour and a half is kind of you should be feeling something. If you're not feeling the desired effect at that point, you can try a little bit more. You can always do more, but you can never do less.
Right. Okay, and that's a really, really good point, because anytime I've had some friends come over, and my friends are a little diabolical sometimes because they don't always buy on the legal market. Some of them know a guy, and I can have friends come over and they'll say, here, try this gummy, but only take a little bit. And I think, what did you bring over here? Like, who made this? What's in it? And the truth is, you don't really know unless you're buying from a cannabis store. But I almost feel like there's a bit of a discrepancy there, because on the stuff that you got from a guy, that seems to be incredibly powerful, knock you on your butt, maybe even knock you out. And then you've got the stuff at the store, which every time I talk about cannabis, people are telling me more and more isn't strong enough for them. Why are we capped at that 10 milligram total for an edible? If you have 4 pieces of chocolate, for example, it'd be 2.5 grams each. It equals 10 milligrams. Maybe there's one in there. It will be 10 milligrams, but it's never more than 10. Is that just the government being overly cautious, or is that what the industry feels? People can't really take in more than 10.
Yeah, so the 10 milligram limit is a Health Canada imposed max on those products. Now, they have since accepted multi-packs. So you can get a 10-pack of 10 milligram gummies, for example. So you're going to get 100 milligrams in your overall purchase, but it's not going to be one unit with 100 milligrams in it.
What's sort of the sweet spot for most people? Is 10 enough, or do you think maybe the government should increase it? Or you don't even have to give your opinion if you're not comfortable. It's just something that I hear from people anecdotally, is that what's available now isn't strong enough.
It really depends on the person. Like, I've got friends and people I know who a 10 milligram gummy will knock them like on their butt. They need to consume half of a 10 milligram chocolate, for example.
And somebody just starting, that's likely the case.
Yeah, that is likely the case. And then there's other people who are like, 80 milligrams is just getting started. It's like,
Wow.
So it really does vary person to person. And you really just have to go toe in the water and work up to see where your individual sweet spot is.
When it comes to cannabis, is it like alcohol in a sense that you can build up a tolerance to it? With alcohol, when I first started drinking it, I could drink a beer and be loaded. Now it's going to take at least a 6-pack before I'm ready to start going.
Yeah.
So is it like that with cannabis too? Am I not getting that buzz from 10 milligrams because I'm too used to it?
Yeah, 100%. It's like just a prime example is alcohol. Like you just said, the more you do, you do build up a tolerance. I find that the tolerance is a little bit slower of a build. If you smoke a joint, you're going to get high. But, when it comes to edibles, you just maybe it's just you get used to the feeling of it and you learn to operate at a bit of a level.
I personally never tried it before legalization. I was one of those people who, when I heard we were going to legalize it, I had an open mind. I waited until it became legal. I did a day one order from the Ontario Cannabis store online, and I saved those pre-roll joints from day one in Ontario.
Nice. Yeah, there's lots of people who were the same boat. They maybe tried it back in the day, but they hadn't touched it in 10, 15, 20 years. Then legalization came along and, curiosity spiked and, friends were trying it, relatives were trying it, and then they get back into it. And there's plenty of people who use daily, don't find it impairs their life in any way. There's some people who are extremely high functioning and, will consume, at work or in public. And
I'm not at that point yet because I talk for a living. And, if I could get to that point, I think I'd be a lot happier. But back to what's available when you go to a cannabis store. So we've got dried flower that you would grind up and you would put that in, say, like a bong, or you could roll your own joint. You could put it in a pipe or something like that. Is that how most people consume the dried flower?
Yeah.
You don't eat it, for example.
No, and just eating pot on its own wouldn't have the effect because it's not activated at that point. So like a dried flower, for example, has THCA, which is the unactivated version of it. So it's heat that actually provides that euphoric sense with it.
Okay, so you've got the dried flower, you've got the pre-rolled joints, you've got the edibles. Vapes are another one that a lot of people tell me they like. And vapes have some advantages because you do get less of the smell. It's also something you're inhaling, though. And where are we at with vapes? Is that a popular thing on the market for you?
Yeah, vapes are extremely popular, especially now they're getting a bit more specialized with some of the inputs. So you're seeing a lot of things like liquid diamonds, for example, which is an even more concentrated version of a distillate, essentially. The potency is very strong. So you're seeing between 92 and 99% THC. And they're very discreet.
You can hit them anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and the flavors are amazing. There's such a wide spectrum of options. There's more true to strain options as well, like a live resin vape, for example, which has more of a natural cannabis flavor, a higher terpene count. So for those of you who are interested in terpenes, something like a live resin vape is going to be a bit more of a purist approach to vaping.
But you have to buy a vape, and then you've got to buy one of the cartridges that goes in it. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's different options as well. So the popular ones are the 510 thread cart. The other options, there's plenty of all-in-one options as well, which are ready to go. You rip open the package, they're already charged, and you can consume.
In addition to those, there are also topicals, and there are oils and things like that. This, again, is made, I assume, the same way they make edibles, but this is stuff that is meant to be, like, rubbed on the skin. Would this be for, like, pain? I know you can't give medical advice, and neither can I. Nobody should take any from this episode, but would those be intended for, like, pain relief, or what is the point of the topicals?
Exactly that. Aches and pains, people find relief with things like arthritis. A lot of people just use it on their hands more than anything. Hands are used every day. They're what gets sore. Hands and knees are what I hear the most.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then things like...
Does it work? Does it actually take away the pain? Because I've never thought, this is so good, is inhaling it. I should rub some on the parts of my body that hurt. I've never thought to do that, but a lot of people seem to have some success with it.
Yeah, I hear a lot of positive results. I don't have any proof for myself, and I'm not sure if there's many scientific papers that would prove it, but yeah, a lot of people I've talked to find great relief with it.
What about capsules? I guess you could just sort of pop a pill, essentially, to get the same effect from marijuana that I personally get from pre-rolls and dried up flower, but that's another way to do it, is the capsule form.
Yeah, and capsules are very popular as well, especially with CBD. It's a bit of a regimen, so you're going to want to do, a daily dosage. 30 days is when you really start seeing the benefit, and from the experiences that I've heard from others, it's not so much you notice when you're taking it, but you notice when you don't. So it's, you're going to find, potential relief with things like anxiety is one of the popular reasons why people are using CBD capsules. And with CBD, you're not getting that euphoric sense. It's, if anything, it's more of a calming effect. You're not going to notice that you're on it, but you are going to see some benefits. Especially, I hear things as simple as my hair is softer.
Really?
It's an oil, right? So so you're finding, subtle benefits in that regard as well. But a lot of people use it just as a daily thing to.
It's true. They take their vitamin D, they take their CBD, and bam, they're ready for the day.
Yeah.
Interesting. We should talk about the difference between some of these things, because there's a lot of terms out there that when the cannabis industry became legal and people were able to go into stores, nobody actually sat down with the public and said, okay, so this is going to be legal. Here's what THC is. Here's what CBD is. Here's what they do. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to do this episode as sort of an introductory, because I have had a great experience with cannabis since it became legal. And I think other people might, or they should at least look into it anyway. When something says it has THC, that's the one that's going to get you high.
Yeah.
If something has CBD, that isn't necessarily going to get you high.
Correct. There should be no sense of euphoria with a CBD. It's more of that calming, kind of mellow effect to it.
So it's not going to make you high when you try CBD.
No, not at all.
It shouldn't anyway.
No, it shouldn't at all. There's next to no THC in it. The only THC that is in it is to help the cannabinoid receptors accept the benefits of the CBD.
And what's funny is there were so many people saying this is good for you, this is medicine, this is a healthy thing, blah, blah, blah. And until it became legal, like right up until the last day, people still insisted it's not good for you, it's terrible for you. And what is the disconnect? How come doctors, or maybe now do doctors, look at something like CBD and consider that a viable alternative to some of the drug pharmaceuticals that they might prescribe?
A lot of doctors are a little hesitant to really talk about cannabis too much because
I've noticed that too.
Yeah, there's not a lot of proven science behind it. So I'm not sure if doctors maybe think it's a placebo effect but I think because there's no scientific papers really proving the benefits, I think they're a little hesitant to prescribe it or to recommend it.
Okay. I mean, and that's fair. The doctors must do it too. I mean, if this much of the regular population is trying cannabis, I would think that the doctors are doing it themselves. It's just they won't actually say to their patients, hey, this works for me. You should try it.
I would assume that's the case.
Got it.
And I think they would maybe propose it as an option. They'd say, I've heard that there's benefits to it, but they're not going to, outright prescribe it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Except in the case of medical marijuana.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. There are specific clinics that you can reach out to, and they can give you cannabis prescriptions, and there's also medical channels that you can go through to purchase on the medical side, because there is insurance coverage.
Imagine you're a business owner relying on a dozen different software programs. Each one is expensive, overly complicated, and worst of all, none of them are connected. It can be incredibly stressful, right? Now, picture Odoo. CRM, accounting, inventory, manufacturing, marketing, HR, and more. Odoo brings all the tools your business needs into one simple platform, and all seamlessly connected. Everything works together, giving you the peace of mind that your business is running smoothly from every angle. Odoo's open source applications are user-friendly and designed to scale with your business, saving you time and money. Say goodbye to juggling multiple platforms and hello to efficient integrated management. Stop wasting resources on complicated systems and make the switch to Odoo today. Visit odoo.com, ODOO.com, and discover how Odoo can simplify and streamline your business operations. Odoo, modern management made simple.
So talking about the different terms, CBD doesn't get you high. That's the one that some people suggest has medical benefits.
Yep.
THC is the active ingredient that gets somebody high. And when you go into a cannabis store, most of the products or all of the products will tell you how much THC is in it.
Yep.
Can you determine by looking at how much THC is in it, how high you're going to get? For example, the one I'm holding here, this is a Sour Kush X Sour Diesel. This is 5 half-gram pre-rolls, and it says total THC 313.2 milligrams.
Yeah, so that's
what does that mean?
So that's 31.3% THC. Basically, it's 10.
So you just move the decimal point.
Yeah, move the decimal point, and that's how you can determine what the THC level is.
31 seems higher than most of them at the cannabis store.
Yeah, that would be considered a more potent blend for sure. When I first entered the industry, for example, the typical range was between 18 and 22%. And then, through genetics and process improvements and more science and innovation going behind things, it's jumped up now. We're seeing low 30s, mid 30s on a very regular basis.
I love it personally because the 22 didn't really do much for me, but the 33 seems to be a nice little sweet spot for myself and the people that I roll with.
Yeah. Once you get north of 30, that's definitely more for the more informed consumer, those who have tried it a few times. If you're just trying cannabis for the first time and you smoke an entire 32% joint,
you're going to be on your butt.
You're going to be rocked. It's you may not have the best first experience ever. So again, start low, go slow. You can have a 32% joint. Just maybe take 1 or 2 puffs. Don't smoke the entire joint.
Right. Okay. So if something's like 31, obviously that's going to be a lot more potent than something that's 21. If somebody's never tried it, is there a number they should be looking for? They're ready to try and smoke a pre-rolled joint, or they want to grind up some flour and put it in a bong or a pipe or something like that. They're ready to try it. Do you recommend people start at like the real low, like 15s, or are we looking mid-20s, or do you want to jump right into the deep end and go for the 30s?
Oof. If I was a first-time consumer, I'd be maybe gearing myself towards like a low to mid-20s. And I would not be consuming the entire joint.
Still wouldn't even do the whole thing at that.
Yeah. Again, my recommendation is, you can always do more. You can never do less.
Got it.
Start just with like a puff or two, wait 10, 15 minutes. Dried flower has, a 5 to 15 minute onset time. Wait 15 minutes, see how you feel. If you feel like you want to consume a little bit more, you can.
Should I be honest with the people in the pot store? Because at the end of the day, these are people that are just doing a job. Some of them are young people, and maybe you feel weird talking to a kid when you're an older person about it. But when I go in there, should I just tell them, I've never tried pot before, and they'll steer me in the right direction? Or should I just sort of base it off of this pod or things I've read online and just hope for the best? I would think you should probably ask for a bit of help.
Yeah, the bud tenders generally are very, very well informed on what the products are. And if they are very good at their job, they're going to take your requests into consideration. So if you go in and you say that you're a first-time user, this is what you're looking for, this is the desired effect you're going for, they've tried a lot of the products that are in the store. So they will have a very informed understanding of, what the product is, how it's used, and maybe can help steer you towards what you're looking for as a consumer.
And they should know, right? If they're working in a cannabis store, they're probably going to start you off low. They're probably going to want to know things like, do you want to smoke something? Do you want a topical? Do you want you can even get drinks now that are infused with cannabis.
Yeah.
Are those things good, by the way? I've never tried one.
They're very delicious.
Are they? Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
And very discreet too. It's you can be out at a party or something like that. It looks like you're having an alcoholic beverage, but it's a cannabis beverage.
You mentioned the staff, that they're very knowledgeable, and I've always found that too. I find it very impressive that people who work in cannabis stores are as well versed as they are, and presumably they know all the things that we're talking about today. They do seem to have tried a lot. Is that the only job where you're encouraged to be high on the job, or how does that work? I mean, because it seems like pretty good work.
Yeah. So a lot of the LPs have a very strong sales team, and the sales team will go in and provide product knowledge sessions with the staff there. So the bud tenders will know a little bit about the company, perhaps where the product is growing, how it's growing. Because
I think that's all good info.
Yeah, tremendous background, because there are some consumers who are interested in some of the intricacies, like how it's growing. Is it hand-packed, hand-trimmed, things of that nature. Some consumers are really interested in the packaging. Is it strong in retaining the benefits of the plant itself, or is there degradation loss through the packaging? Things of that nature. But a lot of the bud tenders are very passionate. They are consumers themselves. They love pot.
And I love them for it because it's good. They've got good info that I think it's important that they can pass on. In the same way that a sommelier can tell you everything about the grapes in the wine you're drinking, I like that there's bud tenders out there right in here in our communities that can tell us about the stuff that we're buying. So I think that's a great service. But you mentioned something else that I want to get into this episode because I don't understand it myself. I understand that we need to keep these packages for cannabis secure so that young, curious minds can't accidentally ingest it, and hopefully nobody leaves their cannabis laying around, especially if there's young people in the house. But sometimes you guys are going over the top. I have had times where I thought, I'm going to have to cut this thing open with tools in the garage. Yeah. Why is it that difficult to get some of these things open?
It's exactly that. There's very strict rules on child-resistant packaging. So there's testing that happens. Every product has to be CR tested by the manufacturer of the product, or like the pouch or the tube or the container. And it's purely that they do not want the ability for children to access and consume these products.
As I look at this packaging here that I've got in my hand, it is a nice little tin. And I'm very aware of the fact that if I go to the LCBO and purchase myself a bottle of wine or a bottle of scotch or something like that, there's going to be a little extra charge on the end there for the deposit.
Yep.
And when I take the empty bottle back to the beer store, they give me a refund. There doesn't seem to be an equivalent in the cannabis industry, and I'm struggling to understand why, because there's probably a lot of people out here with a lot of empties laying around that they've probably just thrown out. Couldn't we create some sort of a recycling program, or is that in the works down the line? I know that some retailers have flirted with a point system if you return the packaging. Is that even something the industry wants?
So there is a lot of focus on creating recyclable materials. So that there's like the province of Quebec, for example, is very stringent on what packaging they accept into the market because they want it to be recyclable. There are some retailers that do have programs where you can bring the container in and they actually produce items made from the packaging that's returned.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get to a point, though, where people are going to the LCBO or somewhere to return their empty pot containers?
It would be nice because there is a lot of waste. It's generally a single-use item. You rip open the package, you pull out the contents, and the packaging just goes to waste. So it would be nice if there was the opportunity to reuse those in some form. But
I'm going to work on something. You leave that way. I'm going to come up with a good solution for your industry. Look at me walking in like I own it. I do want to get just a couple more terms out here that I've heard that I'm not 100% sure about. So I'm sure there's others that are wondering too. What is distillate?
Yeah, so distillate is they basically take the plant itself in its truest form, and there's a couple of different extraction methods, but you're basically using, for example, one method is alcohol as a way to strip the beneficial components from the plant. You take that, and just like alcohol, you're distilling it.
Oh.
Distillate. So
distillate. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, does that make it more powerful? If a product has got distillate in it, is it more potent?
100%.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's a concentrated version of the product.
So if you want something that's going to hit you a little harder, then you would go for a distillate.
Yep, and which is the most common vape application.
What is live resin then?
So live resin is when the plant is harvested, it's flash frozen, then that's when the extraction method would take place, keeping everything cold and more natural. So you're going to get, it's a slightly lower potency, but you're getting a lot more of a rich terpene profile to it.
Then what's hash?
So hash, there's a few different ways that it can be made. Quite often it is the trichomes that fall off of the bud itself. So nothing goes to waste in the cannabis industry. So the bud is obviously used for the dried flower, pre-rolls, things of that nature. After all of that is done, there's all of that powder. And if anybody has a grinder that has a crystal catcher in the bottom, that's essentially loose hash. So what they're doing is they're taking that, all of those little crystals and trichomes, and a combination of pressure and heat. And that's how hash is made.
And now they're infusing hash into some of the pre-rolls and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make it more potent? Does it change the buzz? Why would somebody want it with hash as opposed to without?
It's just a slightly different experience. Hash has a unique flavor profile to it. It does slightly increase the overall potency of like if it was mixed in a joint, for example, it would increase the potency, but a lot of it's the flavor that changes with it.
When I go into a cannabis store, and I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, we talked about the THC content and stuff like that. Inevitably, someone at that store is going to say, you know what? I've determined from talking to you and finding out what you're looking for that you deserve this product right here, X, Y, or Z. You want to take a look at the label, but what are you looking for? Is it the potency? Is there something else I should be looking for? Or am I just looking at what the percentage is?
It depends. Different people are looking for different things. So one of the most common things you'll hear in a cannabis retail store is somebody say, I want the highest THC for the lowest price. That is somebody who's just looking to go and basically blow their mind with a heightened experience.
Get me high right now kind of thing.
Yeah, I want to get as high as possible, but I want to spend as few dollars as possible. But then you've got more of the connoisseurs who are specifically looking for a particular terpene, for example, because they've had a specific experience. They want to replicate that. Maybe they want to try a different brand or a brand that has a more increased percentage of that specific terpene. Yeah, so they'll be looking for something very specific. Some people are looking for something that's grown a certain way or has some specialties to it. Maybe a unique cultivar, for example. Because some of the more unique cultivars, for example, like a plant will have more of like a purple tinge. So you open up the jar and you've got these big, beautiful buds with, like purple hairs coming off them. And it's kind of a more unique experience versus a generic bud. Do
you think we'll ever get to a point where, similar to the LCBO, in every LCBO, there is a vintages section, and that's the high-end stuff, and in some cases, it's reserve or limited edition? Are we going to get to that place in cannabis where, sure, if you just want to get as high as possible for as little money, you might go into like a Value Buds or a Canna Cabana or something like that. But if you want, like, I'm having friends over, and in the same way that I might pull out a good bottle of scotch, I'm going to pull out the good weed.
Yeah, 100%. We're already there.
Really?
Yeah, there's specific brands that do focus on rare cultivars with very unique features to them. Even brands will have different tiers. They'll have, an entry-level point. They'll have like their mid-strains, and then they'll have their premium brands, which are more of a craft product. A little bit more care goes into it. Things like those hand trimming, hand finishing, elevated packaging. Those are where you're going to get your premium products. And there are some brands that tailor just to that niche market.
And there's presumably people out there that are following the agriculture of it all and the science of it all, and they're waiting for some strain that hasn't even grown yet, but is going to be from some particular part of Canada, and they would pay a premium price to get that specific one.
Yeah, 100%. There's brands that tailor specifically to that. And, consumers are looking forward to that new drop. They're keeping an eye on the website. Every 3 months when new drops come into the province of Ontario, for example, they're looking for that specific brand because they know that it's going to have a unique cultivar that isn't available anywhere else.
Why is it that when I go into a cannabis store, and I'll give you an example, Jungle Fumes is one that I was enjoying for a while. And I was able to get it just about everywhere, and it was the same price just about everywhere, but then it stopped being available, and it was just gone for a few months. And then it started to show up again. Is that merely a product of we only grew so many plants, we put it all in the market, people bought it all, and then we had to wait for more plants to grow? Or is there a constant cycle or a constant supply of certain strains coming out?
It could depend from the LP, like how their business model is structured. It is also a 12-week growth cycle. So sometimes you don't anticipate that a strain is just going to pop off. You'll grow something, there'll be a good buzz for it. You only grew X amount. It's
then you got to get back into the greenhouse.
Yeah. And then, let's say you see your first 2 month sales and it's just spiking and everything is just flying off the shelves. And it's like, oh, we better get some plants in the ground. But then it's, again, a 12-week growth cycle.
So 12 weeks from what, seed to harvest?
So they typically do, the LPs typically have a mother plant, and then they'll take clippings off of the mother plant and produce clones.
Okay, and that's how you can mass produce a certain strain and offer that same consistency because it is all based on one original plant.
Exactly. So, different LPs might have multiple of the same strain, different mothers, and they're just producing as many clones as they can.
Got it. We're getting a little low on time here, so I'm going to try and fly through a couple of different topics and put a nice little bow on this one. First off, for somebody who wants to try it, and maybe in listening to this, they've decided I'm going to be a capsule person, or I'm going to be a topical, or I'm going to be a pre-roll or a dried flower. Is there a certain strain that's sort of like, hey, welcome to cannabis, you got to try this one?
I would stick something more like a hybrid because you don't want to start with something that's going to make you feel too low, not something that's going to feel too high. I can't say a specific brand or strain or anything that I would recommend, but I would maybe try a pre-roll if you're going to go the dried flower route, because if you don't know how to roll a joint, it's not going to be a great experience for you. So,
are the vapes something that you would want to enter the market on?
Vapes, I would highly recommend as well as an easy entrance to market, especially something like an all-in-one. You don't need to think too much about it. You just think about what flavor you want. And again, start low. Start with only a puff, because so many people get a vape and they think it's like a joint and they're going to hit it, 10, 15 times. And then all of a sudden, like, you're spinning and you're not having a good time.
Right.
So, if there's a specific flavor you like there's plenty of mint options, fruit options. Basically, if there's a flavor you like, you can find a vape that will fill that.
One of the things I think that keeps some people out of cannabis stores. And I find this incredibly hypocritical because I've used this example on the pod before. I can take a kid to the LCBO and we can go in and shop around. They can touch anything. There's big, bright displays. In some cases, these things are meant to look more like candy than they are alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I've always found it hypocritical that when it comes to a cannabis shop, most of the time the windows are papered over. You aren't even allowed to go in without somebody checking your ID first. And even at that, the staff stays with you most of the time. Everything is locked up. You can't just pick it up and touch it or hold it or something. When are we going to get to parity where it doesn't feel like I'm doing something illegal when I'm doing something that's perfectly legal?
Yeah, they've definitely did put a bit of a stigma to it by like covering the windows, for example, where no other application does that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Even some stores don't show the product themselves. So you go in, you don't know what you want, you can't see it. There's a lot of effort from the marketing departments put into the packaging and the branding, and you don't see any of that until you've already decided what you want and made that purchase. So I'm hoping it gets to a point where all retailers are allowed to properly demonstrate the products. Even when it comes to advertising, like there's such strict limitations from the LP on how they can promote the product and how they can use social media, how they can use their websites. So it makes it a bit difficult for the customer to really be able to dive in and make truly informed decisions.
So once you go in there, though, you've made that step. You've said, you know what, I'm going to go in. I'm going to wait for that person to come over and check my ID, and I'm here and I'm in the store. That's when those bud tenders can really be helpful. I've always found them helpful. There hasn't been anybody where I thought, well, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Like, they seem very well trained.
It's amazing how knowledgeable they are. Sorry.
On many, many, many different strands and strains, too. Like, they know their product.
I've gone in as a knowledgeable consumer being in the industry just to kind of like test them and see what they know, especially when it comes to the brands that I represent, just to see like how are they representing the company that I work for. And it's amazing how much these people actually know. Like, they are the sales force for these brands.
Do you want to say which company you work for? Are you allowed to say which company? No, you're not going to say that. That's fine. How does somebody become you in the cannabis industry, though? I mean, you're in the industry that I think is still very mysterious, but I wouldn't know where to start. I mean, do I look for a science degree? Am I looking for a marketing degree? Like, how does it work for somebody who wants to get into this space and grow with the industry?
So there's job postings all the time for all kinds of different roles. Every company has a finance department. If you have a finance degree, you can get a job in finance in the cannabis industry. If you have any kind of agriculture background, you can get into a grow facility. If you have any kind of sales experience, especially in the early days, it was a lot of people from the alcohol industry that were transitioning to cannabis. Again, controlled market, so they understood the terminology and the limitations. And but yeah, they're always looking for salespeople. Just go to different licensed producers' website, check out their careers section. That's a great first step. A lot of these people also advertise on LinkedIn and Indeed. So it's not hard to find who's hiring, what they're hiring for. There's also a couple of cannabis news websites that every week publish jobs that are available in the industry as well.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Is it a fairly good industry to work in? Like, to me, if I was working in your industry, I would think, okay, we're going to wake and bake every day, and I'm going to go in and be very, very productive and enjoy my job. Like, it seems like a great gig. Can you be, maybe you can't say, but, if I come into work a little bit high, is anybody going to look at me a little judgy like they would here? Or is it generally considered okay?
It depends on who you work for. Different companies have different standards, but typically consumption at work is a fireable offense.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So they take this real seriously.
It is just like any other job. Like, I have a history in the banking world. I've got a history in manufacturing, and now I've been in cannabis for over 4 years. It's all the same. It's a controlled substance and should be treated accordingly. Like, you wouldn't show up to work after having a beer, right? If you have beer on your breath, you're probably going to be in trouble, even if you work for a brewery.
That's a great point. I never thought of it like that. So it's not just a giant party all the time.
Not all the time. It does have its perks. Like, there are research and development opportunities that occur because you have to try the product, right? You're not going to put something to market that you haven't tried.
Right.
So, it's a rigorous process. It sounds fun, but you're actually doing a job when you're consuming these products. It's not like, hey, after work, we're all just going to sit around and get high. No, we need to refine this product. We need to say what's good about it, what's bad about it, what can we do better. So it's taken very seriously.
I can imagine that. And you know what? I mean, that's for the best. We're talking about something that could, in theory, impair somebody. It could intoxicate somebody. So, yeah, I mean, it's good to know that there's professionals that have serious jobs and there's serious rules around what you guys are doing. And I think that that's great. But what's the next step? Where are we going with this here? If you had to look 5 years down the line, the cannabis layout in Ontario, do you anticipate any changes, or is it going to be a little more acceptable, a little less cumbersome to try and get it? Are they going to take away some of the taboo? Any insight here?
I think so. A lot of the taboo is already starting to fade. Like, you're seeing it accepted across, all age ranges. Consumption in public spaces has changed a lot. It used to be like, oh, I can smell weed, but now it's
normal.
Yeah, it's normal. Like,
there's some streets in Toronto where you smell it more than you don't.
Yeah, no, it's true. When it comes to the stores, we have a good number now. Like, you see a lot. Everybody says, oh, there's one on every corner. And that's because people are buying. That store's not going to be there if it's not making money. So
that's right. I mean, it's a viable business if it's still in business.
Yeah. And then when it comes to the LPs as well, I think we're going to maybe see a little bit more consolidation because there's so many different providers, so many different brands and companies on the market. Potentially, I could see it coming more like the beer industry, where you've got your Labatt's, your Molson's, and then you've got your Sleeman's, your
craft
Mooseheads,
ones.
and then you've got your purely craft. So I could see it going a little bit more like that versus literally hundreds of greenhouses providing product.
Where are these greenhouses, by the way? I mean, it is greenhouses that you grow this in, right? This isn't a seasonal business that you can only grow from like April to October.
No, and the greenhouses are extremely advanced as well. There's some that are in plain sight, other ones that are you would drive by, you'd never know it's there.
Can you get high just walking through the greenhouse?
No.
No, really? Okay. No. I wondered about that.
No, you stink coming out of there, though.
I'll bet you do.
Because you go into a grow room, I forget how many square feet like an average one would be, but you're talking thousands of plants in a room. In high humidity as well. Like, it's a controlled environment, completely temperature, humidity, light, all of that is extremely monitored. But yeah, you go into a room with mature plants and it is pungent.
I can imagine. One more. Do you love your job? And do you ever want to change? Or is this like it for you? Is this the spot?
Yeah, I can't see myself moving from the cannabis industry. Like I said, I came from the financial world, which was I had to wear a suit like 2-3 days a week. Did not enjoy that. I came from manufacturing. It was just doing the same thing every day. And then cannabis industry, there's always something going on. There's so much innovation. There's so many different products to look at. There's things to get excited about. And I just love it. Like, I honestly can't see myself ever wanting to do anything else.
We need more people like you that are willing to do episodes of a podcast like this and explain how it works and what the different terms mean and even the different products that are available. So I want to say thank you so much for coming in. I took up way, way, way more of your time than I thought I was going to, but this was a really great conversation and I did learn a lot. So I want to thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
You're a regular listener of After 9.
Yep.
Good stuff. You're welcome to come back anytime. And if I have cannabis questions, can I ask you?
Of course. Feel free to reach out anytime.
All right. Brent, thanks a lot for your time.
Thanks, Scott.
Friends, I will leave you with the sounds of Pat James and the whole truth. Hey now. We'll see you soon.